Is Byron Buxton on pace to have the single greatest season of any Minnesota Twin all time? So I started this project just wanting to look at first half data. Unfortunately, Fangraphs doesn't really have a good compilation of first half data for older seasons. So specifically wanting to look for, some of Harmon Killebrew's best first halves, Rod Carew, Tony Oliva, some of the big names like that. But again, unfortunately, Fangraphs doesn't have that. So instead, we switched to, is he on pace for the single greatest season of all time? And so we're going to dive into that today. Now, this is going through the All-Star break, so not including the 3 games in Colorado. So through the All-Star break, the Twins had played 96 games, of which Byron Buxton had played 78 of those. Now, I'm just going to pause there because one thing I want to address is 18 a lot? Sure. Is it a lot in the case of Buxton? Not at all. And what's even more encouraging about this is that none of the games missed were due to lingering issues, soft tissue injuries, knees, legs, anything like that. They've all just kind of been odd circumstantial things. Earlier in the year, he missed a few games because of a personal family matter. And then he had that run-in with Carlos Correa in short center field where he was put on the 7-day IL for a concussion. So he missed a week plus there, and that accounts for most of the games missed. He has not spent any time at designated hitter this year. He has played every single game in center field. And what's maybe more encouraging is the third game in Colorado, when he got the day off, to my recollection, that might have been his first true day off all season that didn't have to do with one of those other kind of random events. So again, just really, really encouraging news and developments for Buxton. If he can stay healthy, then we're finally going to see the Buxton that we've been waiting on all of these years. Okay, tangent over, let's get back to the stats. So again, through 96 games played before the All-Star break, let's look at Byron Buxton's stats. So he had 21 home runs, 64 runs scored, 56 RBIs, 17 stolen bases. He was slashing 289, 351, 574, and that's with a 286 ISO, a 26.2% strikeout rate, which isn't great, and a 7.9% walk rate, which also isn't great. But aside from those last two stats, he has been having a phenomenal season. And so again, the question remains, what is he on pace for, and how will that rank against some of the best Minnesota Twins seasons of all time? So let's take a look here. If Buxton played in 78 out of 96 games, he is on pace to play 132 games. Again, just going to take a second here just to acknowledge that that would be a high watermark for him by quite a considerable margin. So kudos to Buxton for staying on the field. Now, if he were to play 132 games and continue hitting and producing at the exact same rate, which we know that's not how this works, but we can pretend, then here's what his stat line would look like at the end of the season. You're looking at 36 home runs, 108 runs scored, 95 RBIs, 29 stolen bases, which would make him just one short of the 30-30 club. Now, what I will say about this is that Buxton is running more recently than he had earlier in the year. So again, we all know that these stats aren't linear, right? They can come in bunches, and it's a very up and down process, but I actually think that Buxton could get to that 30-30 plateau. It's probably kind of a personal goal of his. That would be a pretty neat category of players to be in. And so if he's going to be in that high 20s towards the end of the season, I could see him being more aggressive on the base paths just to get that 30 stolen base number. Of course, the rest of the stats were just rate stats. So again, if everything were to stay the same in the second half, you're looking at a 289 batting average, a 351 on base percentage, and a 574 slugging percentage. And so now, how do those rank in Twins history? Let's take a look. For his home runs, he would be ranked 15th all time in a single season, 27th in runs scored, 79th in RBIs, 47th in stolen bases. But all of that together, you are looking at a 7 wins above replacement season, which would put him 10th all time. Continuing down the list, batting average 289 would put him at 225th, so nothing special there. OBP 296, so again, nothing special there. Obviously, that's going to be impacted by the low walk rate. But back to a top 10 category, his slugging percentage of 574 would put him 10th all time. That and his ISO, his isolated power of 286 would put him 8th all time. And again, we already talked about how the strikeout and walk rates aren't great, but at the end of the day, Buxton is making it work. So is he having the single greatest season of all time of any Minnesota Twin? It's hard to say definitively yes or definitively no. In some of the categories, he's top 10. In many of the categories, he is not. But one thing that doesn't entail or picture is how each of those individual players performed in total. I think the biggest thing, WAR is not always a great stat to reference, but when we're trying to compare here like this is the best that we can do. And so undoubtedly, Byron Buxton is becoming the player that we knew he could become if he could stay on the field, and that is a top 10 Twin of all time. If this keeps up, Byron Buxton will for sure be in the Twins Hall of Fame. Even if this doesn't keep up, he's basically a lock for the Twins Hall of Fame. But we're even looking at a possible jersey retirement in the next 10 to 15 years. So what do you think? Where would you put Byron Buxton's rank all time of Minnesota Twins? Let me know in the comments and visit twinsdaily.com for more.